Hello, everybody, and welcome to SQL Friday. This is episode 57 with Alpa Budabati. I hope I pronounced the last name right.
Yeah, correct. Yeah.
Thank you. Alpa is joining from London, so she is also European based. On SQL Friday, as you have seen if you have been here, we have had speakers from all over the world. I had Jeff Moden joining from the US last week. So for him, it was more or less middle of the night. And I have had people joining from the other side of the world, from Australia and India and all over Asia. So it's a global event running at your computer every Friday. You are very welcome, Alpa. Uh, Alpa, I think you made your first uh, public presentation on new stars of data. Is that
Yeah.
correct?
Yeah, that's correct. Yeah.
And after that, it seems like you have kept yourself busy with presentations on the data platform. So I'm really glad to see that. I really love new stars of data because they bring new speakers like you into the community. Welcome. The stage is all yours, Alpa.
Thank you. Thank you all and welcome to my session Azure SQL Server for everyone. This session is introductory session. So if you are new and you would like to see few techniques or features of Azure SQL Server like dynamic data masking, firewall rules and auditing, then this session is for you. And end of the demo, I will provide you a GitHub repo. So in case you would like to follow the step in your own time, then you can do that. So let's start with myself. I'm Alpa Budbati and I'm working as Azure consultant at Cluster Reply. Cluster Reply is nice place to work and with grow your career. So here I have also added my LinkedIn information. So, if you like to have any query or would like to contact me, then please don't hesitate. So, let's start with today's agenda. Today's agenda is divided into main two parts. In first part, I'm just going to give you a definition of Azure SQL Server, and then we're going to move into demo session in 5 different ways. And here I am, before going to give a demo, I will give you a basic overview of firewall rules, dynamic data masking and auditing. So let's start with what is Azure SQL Server. So if you are familiar with SQL Server, on-premise SQL Server, then this is the similar thing, but it's in a cloud. So you can choose as an infrastructure as a service, infrastructure service, or you can choose a PaaS, platform as a service. So here is a definition. So Azure SQL Server is a family of managed, secure and intelligent products that use the SQL Server database engine in a Azure cloud. You can also get more information using this link. Here I have a detailed information regarding Azure SQL Server and different type of the SQL Server you can create. So yeah, let's start with demo now. So in this demo, we are going to create a Azure SQL Server using the Azure portal. You can create Azure SQL Server using like PowerShell, uh, ARM templates and ACI, and you can do it with different techniques as well, but we are using the Azure portal. So let's start with Azure portal. So here you can see that I have already created my resource group, but if you are new, then you first need to create your resource group and then you can create your database on that. So let's start with adding a new Azure SQL Server by just let's add in a same resource group. So here now I'm going to create my SQL Server with a database. So I'm just creating on create resource and then I will type Azure SQL. So by just clicking on that, this window will pop up and then you can start creating your Azure SQL database and server. So here you have three different choice. So according to what you need to decide it. If you need a PaaS service, then you can go with that second box, manage instance, and you can choose even a virtual machine as well, virtual machine, and then create Azure database. And so for our demo, we are going to choose a first one, which is a SQL database. And here we are using for single database because we have only one database. But if you have more than one database, then you can use Elastic Pool or database server. So let's start by just clicking here. And here I have already this resource group is available, but you can create your resource group by just giving new name. And so I have my resource group now, and now I need to choose the database. I'm just saying test database name, and here they have requirements like how name should be works. It's unique as well as it has to be in a particular text or digits. And here we are creating server as well, which is a serverless server, virtual server. So here, by just applying your server name, let's give a test 1 2 3 4 5 already used. So yeah, so here they have also specific standard as well by naming convention. So it will warn you if you are typing any extra symbols or extra space or anything, and it shouldn't be like a server name or DB name or like that. So yeah, and this is my admin user, and so we are creating admin user as well, and we providing password as well. So yeah, by applying this information, we are creating database and we creating the server, and which is not a physical server. It's just a logical group for like database. And this is a location. You can change a location according to your location. So by clicking here, you can see that now it's added here, and now we're going to see that it's Elastic Pool we needed or not. So we don't need it because it's only for single database. But if you have used for multiple database, then you need that. And here this information icon, which give you information in a case you forget that why or what the purpose of that specific information. So you can just click like mouse over that icon and you will see more information. Okay, so here now we are configuring our storage and other things. So but we're using the serverless because it's less costly than provision one. Serverless will only charge if you use that and in that time, otherwise you won't charge it for execution, but you will get charged for storage. And here you can see that it gave summary as well. For monthly it will be that much, and you can see that how much per second when its server is running, is online. And here you can select according to your requirements. You can increase or decrease number of record, and you can increase or decrease record as well here. And so I'm just using by default one. And here is auto pause. So for example, if your server is not used by amount of time you specified here, it will automatically stop running. So here I have allowed 1 hour, I added 1 hour, but you can choose many other information which is here, like certain days or certain minutes or like that. So let's see now. Would you like to use your data zone redundant? We don't need at the moment because it's a dummy database for demo purpose, but you can choose it for as a backup. So let's apply these changes. And now here we will ask that which backup storage redundancy we need. So let's use a local one because my data is not that much sensitive. And let's next. So here you can choose that your SQL Server database under private endpoint, public endpoint, or no access. I just using the public endpoints. Here you need to specify now that any other Azure SQL service is using your database, then you would like to allow or not. So by default I'm setting is no, but for example your Azure SQL database is used for Azure Synapse Analytics or Azure Data Factory, then you can specify yes. And I'm also adding my client IP address at the moment, so it can allow me to access that database after creation. So rest of all we will keep as a default one. And yeah, and we go to next. We don't need this one by now, so because it's a good feature, but we don't need it for our demo, so I'm just using default one. And here I'm saying that create a sample database for me, so for that I'm using this one. And this one is used for billing purpose, but we don't need to worry about for learning at the moment. So let's see. So this is a summary for what we are going to create, how much cost it will be, and basic information, and networking related information, security related information. You notice that I have already added my client IP address. But if you don't add it earlier, then you can do later on as well. So let's create it now. So while it's creating, it maybe take some time. So for that, before that, let's move into here. So this is my resource group, which I created earlier. And in my resource group, I have already created database, and similar which we following the steps. Same thing I have followed, and I have created my database. So when I click in here, then it will look like this. So this let's click here, and yeah. So once you click here, you will see that it will look like that after creating of your database. So here is a query view. But before we see a query view, when you click here, because you're going to connect your database, then it will ask you your username and password. So if you haven't set a firewall rules, then it won't allow you. So for that, you need to add your firewall rule in here, set firewall rule. And we are setting this firewall rule on a database level because we selected database. But you can do same thing at server level as well. So if you set a firewall rule on a server level, then all database, existing database or new database, they both have access. They both have added a client IP address. So you can access your any database in that server. So you just need to click here, and you just need to add here your client IP address. Mine one is already there, so I don't need to do it. So let's discard it. Also, you can add a range of IP address. For example, you know in your organization you have 100 people and you know their IP address in a particular range. Then you just give a rule name here, and then you will give IP address in a range. Like for example, whatever is like here, this starting address and IP address. So if you're in your IP address in this range, then also you can able to access that database or a server. So let's discard it because I don't need it. So once you have created your database, and then after you applied your IP firewall rule, if you haven't done by creating your database, then you need to do that one. After that, you can access your database. So you can see that now by just clicking in by just clicking on query editor preview, you can they ask you to add your admin user information or user information. By just doing that, you are now able to access your database. And as we selected sample database, so you can see that it has already created sample database. And you can create your new database as well, or tables, and you can access that as well. So I have already opened that one in here. So I'm just closing that. Yeah. So after you editing, selecting, viewing your query editor, you can now select a query by just typing here and clicking on run. So you will see result in here. And if you want to see it only for a query view or a result view, that also possible by using this button, toggle button. And you can export a result as well in a different format like CSV format, XML format, or JSON format. So you will get this output once you select a particular format. You will see the result in a particular XML or Excel CSV file. So that is, and also you can download your query as well. So this is the we have done so far. We selected simple queries using the Azure portal, and we have connected database using the Azure portal, and we have created a server as well. So let's see what happened here. It's done, it's deployed, and it's created my database, and you can see that what it's created. So it has created server which I given proper name, whatever name I given. So it created my server, and it created my IP address as well, because I selected, which is a connection firewall rule here, and it created database and database with a sample database. So these are the information resources is deployed by just following previous steps. So if we go to here, so you can see that now you have a new database created. This is your server name, which you can use to connect in a different way. You can add your firewall role here, and you can connect that one using the Azure Data Studio or Visual Studio. So if you click here, it will ask you to download if you don't have it. Otherwise, when you click on here, it will open in your local machine. So yeah, so that's it. And here you can see that now it's asking information. So yeah, this is the one which we created during this demo. This is my database, and you can see that as we have selected sample database, so here is a sample table as well, and you can, by just clicking here, you can select and see what it has inside. And this is, when you use your SQL database, it have a limited features of availability. So you only opening, like selecting few queries or updating few queries. But if you have a really would like to see a good capability, full capability, then you can connect your SQL database using SSMS or a Azure Data Studio. So that this is the thing which I have watched in using the Azure portal. So let's close this one because we don't need that. So yeah, so I think we have looked demo for that, and we also have seen firewall rule as well. But here is a few concept of firewall rule. So firewall rules is nothing but it's give you access. If you add your access of your database or server, if you have added your IP address there. So if you have a database and anyone would like to access that, then IP address should be added as a firewall rule. So it can be done in two ways. So either you, as I said earlier, it can have a database level or it can have a server level. So if it is applied at a server level, then you can access all database. But if you not applied at server level and if you don't have a access rule on a database level, then it will connection will fail and it won't allow you to connect your connect that database. So this is the rule, and firewall is nothing but just adding your IP address, individual one or in group in a range one. So it will provide you access, and you can select your query or you can do you can view your database. So this is the firewall rule, and we have already seen demo as well. And here I have also provided a link if you like to see more about firewall configuration and firewall. So let's move into third one. So in here we are accessing now, because we have created our Azure SQL database, and we have access it using we have applied a firewall rule as well. So now we can access it, and we can access it in a various different way. We can do it using Azure portal, we can do it using the SQL Management Studio or Azure Data Studio. So we have already seen it accessing our database or server using the Azure portal. So now we're going to see for Management Studio and Data Studio. So let's go to Management Studio. So this is my SQL Server Management Studio. So you can download easily from a Microsoft subscription website. You can download it and install it in your local machine. And then you just need to connect your database engine. So this is the similar way how you connect your on-premise SQL server. You need to provide your server name and your username and password. So this server name you can get it from here in if you go to your database, and this is your server name. This is your server name. You just need to copy here, and then you can add it here as a server name, and then you need to add your username and password. By just clicking here, you are now able to connect your Azure SQL database from your local Microsoft SQL Server Management Studio. And you will do how you will query your normal SQL in on-premise SQL database or other database. You just creating same thing, like you creating new query. You can change here, you can select here. So you can see that I'm just selecting for that user, and you can see that this is the way. It's take maybe some time. Okay, let's see. Yeah, it's disconnected. Okay, let's connect again. It's still disconnected, so we're just waiting to connect it. If I query in a new window, yeah, and now if I execute, because it's connected, so yeah, so now I can see the information from this schema dot customer table. I can use a DBO schema dot personal information table, and I can see DBO dot other information table, and I can see information is here. So this way you can connect your Azure SQL database in your local management studio, SQL Server Management Studio. So if now I want to connect with next one, which is a Azure Data Studio. So you can see that it's here. This is my Azure Data Studio. Similar way I showed you earlier, that if you just click here by just clicking on Azure Data Studio here, and when you launch it, or you can download it in your local machine, and then when you launch it, it will ask you to add username, server name, username and password, and that's it. Once you have connected, you can add connection by here as well if you want to do it, or you can add a new notebooks or new query. So once you do that, and then here you can type as well from that particular database, and before that you can see that here is your connection information. So you need to choose your connection information from this drop down here, and then you can do your query. Like I already have connected with my connection, so here so that is how you connect with your Azure Data Studio by just providing same server name which we did in SSMS and username and password. So let's see here because it's already connected here. So if I select just a basic query, let's do this one. If I run this query, then if my database is not connected, then it will say that your database is not connected. So you have to connect it again. But if it has, then it will return you a result. So this way you can connect your SQL database in SSMS and Azure Data Studio. So now we are going to move into next topic, which is dynamic data masking. So what is a dynamic data masking? Before we going to see a demo, so for that you can see that I have a two different user. My one user is admin user and my another user is service representative, like call agent. So, and I have a sensitive information or personal information in my database. So here, for example, I have a credit card, but I don't want to show that credit card information to call agent or service representative or anyone who really don't need to know that information. So for that, here you can see that my credit card information can be seen by admin, but I only want to stop from service representative or other user other than admin user. So for that, I need to apply a dynamic data masking. And after applying that, you will see that second user or a service representative or call agent only see the last digit. So without exposing full information, call agent can identify end user by asking them last four digit rather than full information. And it can identify that user is correct user or not by just asking last four digit information or something else like email address which start from A or like that. So for this is the basic example of dynamic data masking. It's protect or hide the full information from non-privileged user. So here are few points to note it for a dynamic data masking. So dynamic data masking is a one method of a technique to hide sensitive information from non-privileged user, and it prevents unauthorized access to a sensitive data information. Only the right person can see the full information who really need to know. And for it is a policy based security feature, and it is a very quick, you can very quick apply that rule and you can revoke that as well. It's very quick, and for that you don't need to change any physical changes or like in a database actual table value need to change or application side need to change. No any changes, you don't need to change from application side or database side. You just need to apply that rule and it will work like that way. So it stored the data actually in a original form, but only when someone query it by SQL tool or by application side, they won't see full information. The viewing information is partial one, only few things they can see it. So there is no any change in a database. So database table will store the original information. And this is very good because it's improve performance, means it's not harm any performance like other masking technique do. So this is a dynamic data masking which is protecting sensitive information from non-provisional user. So let's go to demo for dynamic data masking. So for that, let's go to database. So this is my database, and so you need to choose your database. Once you have choose your database, you can either scroll down from here or you can search just here by dynamic or data masking. So this is the dynamic data masking, and we are using the dynamic data masking using portal, and we will see by query as well. So here you can see that few information. You can add your masking by just clicking here, or you can just apply this all masking, because this is a recommended field. Automatically it will recommend you based on your information stored in a table or database. So they will recommend you to apply that mask. So you just add here, so it will apply here. It will automatically apply. You don't need to do anything by just save here. Let's discard that. So that is a one thing. You, without typing anything, you can just follow the recommendation, and you can add by just clicking on add mask. Or another way you can do it by just clicking on here add mask. So here you need to select your schema, like which schema are you going to apply for mask. So it's like this is the schema, and which table in that schema. So you need to choose your table as well, and then you need to choose a particular fields also, like which field you want to apply a masking, and you need to tell here which method you going to apply. Is it a random number, default value, credit card value, email, or a custom string like a prefix, padding, and suffix. So once you choose here, and then you add here, so it will add a rule automatic for you, and then you just need to save it. So by this way you apply the masking or hiding information rule, and then once other user like a non-privileged user will log in, they won't see full information. They will see the XXX or something, whatever you have choose. So this is a dynamic data masking you can apply via portal, and here you only apply it based on a particular schema, on based on particular table, and on a particular field. So it has a limited thing you can do using Azure portal. So if I do same thing by using database, like for example here, then let's see how we can do it quickly, because here we will do by granularity level. So you can mask your schema base, you can mask based on a database level, and you can mask based on a table level. So for that, for example, let's see here. I think yeah. So we just do first a user 2. Okay. So let's see what user 2 has at the moment. So you can see that user 2 is not able to see, because these are all masking fields. So that's why it's XXXX, because it's a default masking. And this is a email masking, because only you can see the first letter, and rest of all are like XXS yet xxs.com. And this one is a default masking. This is a email masking, and this is a default masking. So, and this one is a random masking, because in random masking you can see random number from range. You provide 1 to 9, then you will get random number 1 to 9. Actually it's only for viewing purpose, because this user don't have a privilege. But if admin user run same query, then admin user can see, let's copy this one, and this is admin user. So if admin user run that query, then you can see that what admin user will see. Admin user see full information like first name, last name, email address, and phone number, like that, for all tables. Like this first table is from sales LT schema, and this second and last table from a DBO schema. So admin user can see all table in all schemas, but this user not able to see at the moment. Okay, so if I want to give a grant to this user to see only the particular table, for example, like for only see the information from DBO schema and only for other information, not for a personal information from this table. So let's see here what we can do. So for that, I need to add a grant on a table level. This is the table I'm saying, give a permission to view this table for this user. So this user, once I execute this statement, this user will see all information from other info table, and it can see mask, means mask information become unmasked. So here let's execute that. So it's successfully done. So now if I going to see it for this same user, and earlier you can see that these are masking information, but as I have given now permission, and if I now execute that, you can see that these two tables still have a mask information here. It's like something XXX or not full email address or like that. But you can see that this third table, now I can see it. Now this user 2, SQL Friday user 2 can see the information. So this is the table level masking. So you can revoke as well. So if I want to revoke table level masking, then this is the syntax for that. So I'm revoking now table level masking for user SQL Friday user 2. So now I'm revoking that. So after revoking that, if I execute this one, now this user will not see this information here fully, like for example address and city and amount or whatever field they have masked. So let's execute here. See, I have revoked the grant mask for address, city and amount. You can see now it has amount is 000 instead of it has the actual value. But same query run by admin user, as you know earlier as well, admin user can see that. When admin user run that, he can see that, he or she can see that full information because it has amounts as well like that. So this is the masking and revoke for table level. Same thing you can do for schema level and you can do for database level. So let's apply for a schema level. So now I'm giving masking information for DBO schema only. So DBO schema have a two table, these two table, last two table, and that this user 2 can see it, but it won't see it first table, which is a sales LT schema. So let's give a grant for that. And now let's go to here. Now you can see that at the moment all are masked. This all are have a mask information. So user of SQL Friday user 2 is not able to see the mask information. And that information is hide for this user. So now I have given a schema which is DBO schema permission to view by this user. If I execute that, this information in this two table will be unhide. So this user can see that. See now this user can see that DBO schema both table or how many table have masking, that all table will. But this user won't able to see the cells LT schema, this because this table is from cells LT table or schema. So this is the schema level masking. So if I revoke, I can revoke as well. So for revoke syntax is similar one. So now I'm revoking it by using this syntax. So after revoking it, now this user don't have a permission to view that sensitive information for these two table or how many table in this schema has. See it again, it's mask, it's hide, it's sensitive information. So this is the schema level masking. And when we apply for database level masking, this is the syntax for database level masking. So here I'm giving permission to SQL Friday user 2 to view all schema, all table, or all columns, whoever has a masking information, but this user can view it without hiding anything because I'm applying it for database level. So if now I execute this query for SQL Friday user 2, you can see that this user will see all information for all the schema. At the moment we have a two schema, one is sales LT and DBO. So if I run this,
actually granted only for one table.
Sorry?
I think you granted it only for the other info table. So I think you had the wrong part of
Okay,
it.
yeah. Okay, so I granted it for, oh yeah, you are right. Thank you for that. So
No
I
problem.
do it for you, yeah, this one. I need to execute grant for, sorry, yeah, sorry. Yeah, I need to grant for this one. So this one is for all your database, means same database, all schema or any table or like that. So yeah, so now if I execute here, so this user will see all information from both schema or whatever schema available. So at the moment I have a two schema. So you can see that now it can able to see information. It's not a hide sensitive information from this user. So, and let me just revoke it. So it's very easy. You can revoke as well by just using this syntax. So now this user it's in original position. It won't see anything from any schema. So on that database. So at the moment we have three tables of masking. So yeah. So this is the masking one. Have you like give a masking rule based on a schema, based on database, and based on a particular table. But if you want to add a new masking, if you have already existed table, if your table is already exist, and if you want to add a masking, then add a masking or you can remove the masking. Then it's a very simple way you can do it. For that one, I think I have already here. Um, yeah, this is the syntax when you would like to add a masking. So like I have a table here and I'm adding the masking on a column this and I'm saying type. There is a column, type column is in that table and I'm masking it by applying a random. So this is the random function which is inbuilt masking function and it will choose from 1 to 9. So it will randomly add here 1 to 9, any number from 1 to 9. So this way you can add a mask in your existence table. Yeah. Same query you can use in a SQL database as well, SSMS, but I have choose here. And you can drop masking. Like if you don't want to add a mask, then it's very easy. By just running this query, you are dropping it. So it won't be masked now. So for example, type column, it won't be masked now. So if I now select information from that table for type 1, you will see that you will see that I have revoked the masking. Now it says a 1, 2, 3. But if I add it, it applied it and it's random number. And when I run it, it will see a random number. But at the moment, they have original and random number are same. But generally, it won't be. So that way you can add a mask and you can remove mask from existing field as well. And you can see if how many columns or how many schema or how many tables in your database have a mask. So by applying this query, you will see that other information like email ID from that table, it has a mask, is mask is true, means it has a mask and it has an email method. So these are the inbuilt function in a mask dynamic data masking in Azure SQL Server. So like email, default, random, and partial one. So these are the masking one. Yeah. So this is the one. But if you want to see it again, then here I can apply for user 7. So I'm creating user, and then I'm going to see information from same user. Where is it here? So I have created user and I given a select permission. So now you can see that this user can see information from all three tables because it has a select permission. But by default, it will apply all masking for all three tables. But if I give a same thing, it's I have already show you. So I only execute one command. Here I'm giving that user, actually it's user 7 because it's a new user we just created. So if I give a permission like this way, then that user only will see the DBO tables, not that one. So you can see that it can see the these two tables, but not that. So this is exactly same way which I've seen earlier. So you can revoke it and you can apply for table level and database level like that. So this is all information. So this is a dynamic data masking. And dynamic data masking is a very useful features, and it's very easy as you can see it now. So let's move into here. So I have added a link as well, useful information link in here if you like to see more information. And when you do dynamic data masking and you clone your table and if table has a masking, for example, insert into new table or select into new table from original table, and if original table has masking, then it will inherit from new table as well. Those information will be masked. Masking rule will be applied into copied table as well. So that is the one thing. And let's move into here. Here is a sample example of masking. So for example, if my column value is this, and if column value is like that way, and if I apply the mask with a default function, then it a non-privileged user will see like XXXX. But if I have email ID or address or something like this, and I only want to see them only first digit, first character, then by just applying function equal to emails, and this is for random one. So like random one will use a range of number. So here you can see that it's 101 to 999. So for this field, value should be random one between those two value. So it will show only random value rather than actual value. And this is only and only for selecting or viewing information, not for actual changing in table. Table in physical database, it stored the actual value. But only when users see in a SQL tool or in a application or any different way, at that time that user can't see it by just viewing that. This is for partial method. In partial method, you can see that you apply a like prefix, pairing, and suffix. So prefix means you want to display anything in a first or last or middle. So here you can see that I say that I in first I don't want to apply anything. So initial one is nothing, and then padding will be XXXX, and last four in suffix I want last four position I need a actual value. So here you can see that this is the result of that. This is the original value. This is the result by applying this masking. So that is the masking. Let's move into auditing now. So auditing is really need to know, you need to know like which table, which column have access by whom, and what they have done. They have viewed, they have deleted, or they have added. So like any action you want to see in a happen on your database, you can turn on a auditing features. Here I have applied more information as well. So before we see a demo, let's move into little bit notes for auditing. So here you can see that audit write down the logs in a three different place. It do in Azure storage account, in a log analytic workspace, or event hub for a further analysis. So three way you can store your logs in a Azure SQL DB. Also, why we need auditing? Because it's help you to maintain a regulatory compliance, and it also help you to understand your database activities, like who have access or those kind of thing, what happened with your database, and it find out suspected security violation in a case you need to investigate in future, something is happening past, and if you have auditing enable, then you can do it. So like for example, if your data is very sensitive and very you would like to have in secure way, then auditing, then generally people do enable auditing. So this is the auditing. And let's one more thing. So auditing also can be in a server level or in a DB level. So if you have enable auditing on a server level, then all new table or existing that all new database or existing database, both will inherit that audit setting. And like for example, you enable a setting here and you say it store log into blob storage, then for new database or existing database would have that setting inherited, and this log will be generated for each database in that server in a blob storage or whichever mechanism you use out of three techniques. But what if your database also have enable auditing? Will it override? No. If you have auditing enable in your database server and you have enable in your database individual, then you will have a parallel to auditing log. Whichever way you set, is it blob storage or a different technique in both place. So you will have a two copy of auditing log, one because of server level setting and another because of database level setting. So this is auditing. Now let's see in here how you can apply auditing. So for that you need to choose your database, and here you need to do audit. So this is auditing. So you can see that my server level auditing is disabled. So you can go to your server and enable that. So other old database will inherit it. But let's do it from auditing by just enabling in here, which is in a particular SQL day underscore Friday underscore DB database. So here you can choose your subscription. First you click on enable in this button. Then you choose your subscription, and then you choose your technique. I have choose here storage. If I remove that, then it will ask me which technique you want to store your log, where you want to store your log in Azure cloud. You can use a blob storage, you can use a log analytics, or you can use an event hub. So let's choose a storage. So it will ask me where your storage account. You have existing storage account or you would like to create new one. So first of all, I will choose my subscription. Then I will choose a database, so storage account. Which one? You can use existence one or you can create as well. So let's just using existence one. So it will, and then once you save this one, it will create a log on this storage account az dev store dgs 2021. So it will store in here. It's already stored there. Let's remember that it's if I go to that account, storage account, then you will see that log is generated there. So I think it's this one, and yeah. So you can see that it has created this. You can check timestamp as well. It's created log here for that particular database because I only selected database level. You can see this is your log on particular day, and it's start with x.x.e.l. This is the file, but you can't view it in here, so you have to download it. So this way you can create your audit. I have only showed you server database level, but you can apply same thing on server level as well. I'm just disabling it because I don't need it. So if you want to disable it by just applying this button and you apply save, that means it's now disabled. Auditing is disabled for that database. So that is auditing. Let's see what left. So that's end with this recap. So here, initially we have seen that how to create Azure SQL database. Then we see what is a firewall rule, and we applied firewall rule. And firewall rules is nothing but just adding your client IP address, whoever going to access that database, their ID should be registered there in firewall rule. And after that, you can view or you can connect your database. So that is a firewall rule. Next, we move into data masking. Data masking is hide a sensitive information from non-privileged user, and it makes sure that right person have a right information. It's not all information need to be exposed by all user. For example, you have three different departments: HR department, payroll department, or sales department. Not all users in three department would like to see all information. So you can use the masking information in that scenario as well. So certain information can see by only manager, certain information see by only that department's manager, not all manager. So you can apply masking rule to not expose full information and secure more your sensitive information or personal information. And then we have seen auditing, which is help you to show your database activity, what happened with your database, store the logs as well, and you can use it for a future reference. And it is a good quality standard if we apply them. And that one also very easy to apply without much hard work. You just enable it or disable it if you don't need it. So with that, I would like to thank you for attending this session, and thank you for SQL Friday users and members who allow me to present this session. And with that, I'm open with Q&A.
Thank you so much for your presentation, Alpa.
Thank you.
There was actually one question which I was able to answer myself in the chat. It had to do with which permissions do we need on the Azure subscriptions to be able to create an Azure database?
Yeah.
I just gave some examples of one could create their own roles or there are many built-in roles in the Azure portal. So, but it's definitely worth looking at and you know this better than I, of course, because you actually work with Azure. But if you're a big organization, then don't make everyone an admin. So.
Yeah, it definitely not make admin, but if you want to, you have access to create resources in subscription, then you definitely need to have a contributor access to create resources.
Yeah. I have a fun exercise for people, which has to do with your firewall rules that you created.
Yeah.
I was attending on PAS Summit a few years ago. I was attending a pre-con about Docker containers. So, and we didn't know which IP address we were going to use because it was such a wide range and it was kind of random which IP address we would connect with. So what we did during that workshop was to just open it to the internet. Don't have just one firewall rule, grant everything. Then I created one, like a Linux virtual machine, created a Docker container with SQL. 10 minutes later, I looked into the error log and I saw connection attempts with failed logins from, I think, 30 different IP addresses. So there are so many script kids trying to connect to random IP addresses to just try to exploit whatever you create in Azure. So be careful about the firewalls.
Yeah, definitely. Only authorize, the user, and that only IP address should edit, not a range as well. Like it's not a good idea. Yeah, you are right.
Yeah. And I guess the general rule would be to create the private endpoint instead and have your network technicians work magic to connect your on-premise network to the Azure network. So.
Yeah, that's correct. Yeah. But you need to add a little bit more permission if you do like that way. It's a little bit tricky, but it's good, more secure. Yeah.
Yeah, and I guess also if you're not, usually you don't just have a database, you have some Azure functions, you have some other pieces of infrastructure, and you need to work with subnet groups and so on. But it's kind of beyond the scope of just showing Azure SQL database. But there's a lot to think about before actually. Don't just jump in and put the database into production and start use it.
Yeah, but only they can start, if someone would like to start new, then they can use free subscription or Visual Studio subscription, which allow 115 pound per month. So on subscription, we can play around, like we can create database and we can do like anything.
Yeah, and I think if you just want to get familiar with the using either the Azure portal or try to write your PowerShell script to do it, then just use the lowest tier of performance. It's super cheap. I mean, it costs next to nothing to have a Azure SQL database running 24/7 if you just don't
pause it.
make it very performant. So it's easy to get started with. Then it will of course cost some money to add performance to it, but that's the same on premise.
Yeah.
Cool. Thank you again for coming to SQL Friday, Alpa. I really enjoyed the session. And for those of you who are watching it online on YouTube instead of attending the live session, it's much more fun to join the live session. So next time, join on the Friday and be able to join the Q&A. I don't see any more questions in the chat, so I think you were clear on the topics.
Yeah, thank you so much. I just would like to share this link as well. I have added links as well here if anyone would like to start their journey as a SQL developer or Azure SQL developer or like DBA or so. Here I have added few links, useful links as well. Perfect. Yeah, and I will add my repo link as well here if anyone would like to practice for applying masking and the firewall rules and
Awesome, and I will put that the repo link both on SQLFriday.net, but also as a comment on YouTube so that people watching the video can also play with the script.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you so much. Thanks. Bye.
Thank you.